What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Lightning Strike. Today I am with my friend Joey Acosta. I met Joey last year when we were training at Tread Athletics in Charlotte, North Carolina. Joey has recently just been playing for the New Jersey Jackals, and we had the opportunity to see each other a couple weeks ago when he was playing in Quebec City. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, how you doing, man? Thanks for
I'm good.
being with me.
Awesome, man. I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I'm very good. How about you tell us what you've been up to lately?
Well, I just finished college. I went to East Tennessee State for 6 years. I was there for a while. I had
Yeah.
COVID year, got a year back for that, and then tore my UCL a year and a half later, so I got a year back for that. And then I just got done playing for the New Jersey Jackals in the Frontier League, and I just saw this guy in Quebec a couple weeks ago.
Yes, sir. That was pretty cool. Tell me about your first experience Pro Bowl. How was it?
Oh, cool, man. And it was cool. I mean, it was a lot. I said it was a lot less stressful than college. Um, I felt like there was more. I could be more free and just be myself a little more. It wasn't, I could do my own routine, do my own little thing. But it
Yeah.
was cool. I got my foot in the door, so we're just making it happen.
Yeah. So, what's the plan from now? Are you trying to get other opportunities next year?
Yeah, yeah. So I actually just got released from the Jackals like
Yeah.
a week and a half ago, something
Hmm.
like that. I've been dealing with kind of like I hate talking about it, but I want a podcast for it. But kind of like a little bit of a yips,
Hmm.
I got good stuff. It's just here and there it comes out. And towards the end of the season, um, I just couldn't, in catch play. I just feel like I couldn't hit my partner in the chest. Like I don't even I didn't even know how to play baseball anymore. So I'm taking this time to just clear my mind and just become a baseball player, not just a pitcher.
Yeah.
Just feeling like a kid again. That's probably the best thing for me.
Yeah. So let's rewind that. So you've been having some issues with your command and stuff like that since you had TJ, right? Since you were coming back. Before that, that was never an issue, right?
No, never was an issue.
Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of similar. I had similar. I wouldn't say it was yips, but some pretty bad common issues as well, and it was as well right after I got surgery. So it seems to be kind of a common thing nowadays. I feel like.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. What do you think about that? Do you think it's pretty common?
I guess. I mean, I feel like it's hit or miss, like you'll have your buddy who gets TJ and, right when he comes back, he's perfectly fine, if not better, and then you got the guys um, like me and I guess like you that come back and it's like 3 years down the road and it's like, holy shit, like I'm not even back to where I was.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
you know, but
I don't know. I feel like it might have something to do with the return to throw programs. I personally, I think I identified one of the things that really did not help was thrown by myself with plyos into a wall. Um, I felt like I had optimized my mechanics for throwing into a wall 4 feet away from it, and I was just so in my head. But I was so good at because my focus was so internalized. Like I remember thinking, okay, this fire's there and there and there, and then even though it was terrible cues that I was giving myself, I still was able to get to a decent result. Like I was throwing it very well in the wall, but then I'd grab a baseball and I would still be fucking internalizing everything. Like, okay, make sure we fire this first and this. And bro, it was impossible. Like I was all over the place.
uh,
And I think that's one of the issues that is causing that after that, like kind of losing yourself. You're like, dude, what the hell am I even doing? Like, it's crazy to say that we've been playing for 20 plus years. And then you're like, I don't even know how to throw a baseball right now.
exactly, I know. Yeah, I mean it's different for everybody, dude. Like me, um, I came back thrown with a partner, like I never threw into a wall,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of like I didn't really have control issues when I was first coming back, like going through the rehab. But then I started to get control issues where I think my first day back on the mound to a live hitter, I had this fear of hitting him. And I don't know why, because I've never had that fear before, but I think
Yeah.
my mind knew that my arm wasn't as good as it was before, or back into the shape it was before.
Yep.
And then, because I remember that exact moment where my first live hitters, he was a righty hitter, every single fastball I threw, which I was only throwing fastballs, was outside. I either missed way off or just hit the outside corner, and I was like, what is going on?
Hmm.
And then I think everyone has their own little different, mental block or thing they're going through. It's never exactly the same. Um, it's hard to explain. Like, you can't pinpoint it. It's just how it is, It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is really weird. And like, I don't know. Some guys it will happen for different guys, and it'll happen. And some days you'll be fine, and some days you'll feel like you can't hit the side of a freaking truck, and then
Yeah.
and then some other days you'll just show up and be right in the target. And I'm trying to think about how like it started for me, or like what things we're doing, because I feel like it happens more often. I remember a few, like there's a few guys that I've played with or against in my career that were really, really good growing up. And then at some point, they just started being dog shit. They would throw so hard, but could not throw it anywhere close. And I was like, that was weird for me. But I was thinking about that when you were talking. Um, I think a big thing personally was not trusting or always operating from this place of lack. Like you said, it took you a few years to get back, or not even get back to where you were before you thought. And I think that is probably part of the problem, because personally, when I'm thinking about it, it's like I would throw my first live ABs, my first games back in college. You know, I would have, like, when I committed, I was throwing 90. I was like, I'm going to be coming in as a freshman throwing so well. And like, coach was like, that's going to play. You're going to pitch a shit ton. Everybody thought I was good. And then I'm getting back and I'm throwing like 83, 84. Everything's terrible, but I'm technically at 100%. Like, everybody says, you're fine. You can play. And I'm like, dude, I suck. And
Yeah.
it's like, I could not just throw, right? I was always trying to do more, because I was like,
Hmm.
this cannot be 84. Like I'm going to suck if I throw 84. Like I used to throw 90.
Well,
And
yeah, the radar gun's wrong.
yeah, but I knew the radar guns were not wrong, but it was so stupid, because I would practice and know exactly how hard I was throwing. Like every single fucking time it was 84, 84, 85, and then
Hmm.
like 83. Like it was ass. And then I was like, every time I'd come in a game situation, I was like, I hope I'm throwing like 88 today. Like, bro, you're not going to jump 5 miles per hour every day. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I just did not accept the fact that I was not where I wanted velo wise and like skill wise. And that completely destroyed, I think, my performances.
Yeah. No, I like that you mentioned that, because the part of accepting it, because my
Yep.
first probably year and a half, not from when I had surgery, but my first year and a half, maybe 2.5 years, a year and a half to 2.5 years of me actually being able to perform, I never wanted to accept the fact that, or make an excuse that I'm not doing as good, um, because of TJ. I would be like, oh, like everybody goes through it. It's just a little, hitch. Like, I can't use it as an excuse, which that's not what I'm saying.
Yep.
I never want to use it as an excuse, but I would always try and push myself away from it.
Yep.
Like, if I work hard for like a year or whatever, training, and then I have one bad outing, I'm like, dude, why? Like, why is this happening? But now, which I just started to do it like the past couple months, is I would actually accept. I'd be like, you know what? Like, it's okay. Like, you're not doing good because this happened to you, but it's okay. Not to use that as an excuse and be
Yeah.
like, oh, hey, like, I'm not doing good because I had TJ. Like, I'm not going to say that, but you
Yep.
have to be okay with the fact and know in the back of your head that, you know what? You're not as good because you did have this happen to you, and this is what's going on.
Yep.
Now, it's different if you're not putting in the work. Like, if you're just flat out not
Yeah.
putting in the work and you're not doing good, then it's like, okay, well, maybe that's the reason. But if you're putting in the work every single day and you're working hard and you're trying to flip every stone and do every single thing you can, and it's not outputting the way you want it, you just have to be like, you have to make it your buddy. It's like, put your arm around it and be like, you know what? Like, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? And then you won't. It's almost like, I think you mentioned this when we were in Quebec. It's like two magnets, and you try and
Yep.
put the opposite ends, and you're like pushing, 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 but you know it's never going to work.
Yeah.
You have to flip the magnet the other way and just like let it be, like let it connect, like
Yeah.
let it live with you. Like it's okay that this happened to me, and maybe you'll never be as good as you were. Maybe you will, but as long as you put in the work, there's only one way to find out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a good way of putting it out. And I think that you won't be in a good spot mentally as a pitcher until you can just have a bad outing and wash it off like this without asking yourself any questions. And I feel like I just got to that point for me personally this summer. And for some guys, like, some guys that, they go through their career, they don't get hurt. Maybe they do get hurt, but they get in that, they remain in that headspace all the time that like they know they're good enough. And it's like, I had a terrible outing the other day practice. I sucked. Like I could not throw it anywhere. And I was like, I finished practice and I was pissed off about it for like 15 minutes. And then I was like, you know what? I don't give a fuck. Like I'm good. Like this just happens.
Exactly.
And that's when I knew I was like, I'm in a good spot right now. Like I know that right now I'm in a great spot. And then the next time I went out there and everything was fine. So it's like when you don't ask yourself questions about why the fuck didn't I do good and what happened and what things could I do better, and like, dude, you just had a shitty day. Like, who cares? That's it.
Yeah, it's part of it.
If when you can do that, that's when you like, all right, now we're rolling.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's literally what I just went through this past college season, which was my 6th year.
Yeah.
I was there my whole college career, so I've had, my best times in college there, and I've had my worst times there in front of everybody. But this past year, I was like, you know what? This is my last year in college. I had TJ 2 years ago. Like, this is going to be my season. I ended up pitching 1 inning. I basically couldn't throw strikes. I just couldn't do good. Um, and literally every single day from the fall all the way up until halfway through the season, every time I wouldn't do good, I'd come home and just live with it in my head from when I wake up to when I go to sleep. And I'm like, why is this happening to me? Like, I was like, what are the chances that I'm putting in so much work for years since TJ, and I go to throw live ABs and I can't even throw a strike, or when I do throw strikes, I'm getting shit on. It's like you wanna victimize yourself, like why me, why me? And then halfway, because I'd still pitch in inter squads while the
Yeah.
season's going on like a Wednesday or something,
Yeah.
just to get my work in. Once I stopped giving a damn, I was like, in my head, I was like, you know what, like I'm done. Like I'm probably never gonna play baseball again. Like it's been 2 years since TJ. I'm a 6th year in college now, and I can't even get an inning. Like this is just not working out. So I went out there in some inter squads towards the end, not giving a shit. In my head, I was like, in 3 months, I'm gonna be working a corporate job. Like who even knows? Like baseball is done.
Yeah.
And that's when my velo went up. I started feeling better. I wasn't thinking about my throw with my arm. I didn't give a damn about anything, and I started to do a little bit better,
Yeah.
or not a little bit better, a lot better in the inter squads.
Yeah.
And then I realized it was like once you stop caring and stop thinking that all your hard work in the weight room or all the mobility stuff you do is going to correlate to you doing good on the mound, and you're just out there just to throw a ball and go home. Like once you eliminate all the thinking, which is very hard to do, I'm just going through it right now. But once you find a way to eliminate the thinking, it's like good things happen. You're just throwing a dang baseball, you know?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, it seems easy to say, but it's a lot harder to do and actually be that, what you're talking about. And especially, I feel like baseball's the worst, man. Like all the guys always talk about their shit, always talk about their stats, always talk about how hard they threw that day, always talking. And then you start comparing. Like you can't not, like, I mean, you can, but everybody's always comparing stuff and like, oh, that guy threw 94 yesterday. Oh, that guy threw 96. Oh, that guy never touched 90 before, but he touched it 4 times. And then he's talking to you about it and they're feeling good about themselves. And everybody's feeling good about themselves. And you're just there like, fuck, last time I pitched, I threw 14 out of 18 balls. Like, that's awful.
Exactly, dude.
And it was fucking 85. I suck. And then you're like, dude, what is going on? And like you get into that headspace, and like I feel like that was the headspace I was last year in college, and then it took me coming here into a little bit of a, not as good as a level of play here to just be like, okay, like I'm better than these guys. If I just execute, I'm gonna be fine, and then I'm doing fine. But it's like I still needed the little like downgrade to be like feel good about my shit because I couldn't be in an environment where like everybody's telling you, well, you have to throw it harder or you have to do like. Jesus, man. Like,
Everybody knows everything,
I
right?
know.
Yeah.
Exactly. And everyone looks at, you have teammates looking up more video of you than you actually do sometimes. I'd have guys come up to me like, oh, I think you threw like 4 at this speed. What, dude? Like, why are you telling me this?
Their data overload is a real thing. There's a lot of
Oh my
stuff
God.
that you don't even need to know that kind of makes you worse because it's like, why are you
Yeah.
telling me this? Like, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to think about that at all. You know what I'm saying? Because the more you think, like, the more stuff you know and the more stuff you dig deeper into is going to help you. But sometimes if you're not that type of person, it makes you worse because then you end up not competing and going out there and just pitching. Now you're thinking about all these different things that at the end of the day don't matter. The only thing that matters is you going out there, getting
Yeah.
hitters out and throwing strikes
Anything
and
else,
throwing
baby?
as hard as you can. You know, and you got
Yep.
guys that are like, oh, well, that don't, of course you probably, like, everyone has stuff in their mechanics that you could fix, you know, but when you got guys that are like, oh, I think you should do this, I think you should do this with your front shoulder, I think you should do this, and then you're like, oh, well, you got to get um, your vertical break, spin, whatever the heck it is to this number, then you're like, well, that's not really the problem. I just don't really care where the ball's going.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I
like,
just suck right now. Like,
I know.
they dive into the analytics. Well, I noticed your changeup spin axis a little off these last couple of games. Brother, I threw 40% strikes. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It's like I literally haven't even thrown the ball over
dude,
the plate.
yeah. I think you need a new pitch. I think I just need to get ahead, dude. Like, of
Yeah,
course I'm getting shelled in 3-0 counts. Like, these guys can hit, like, a little bit.
exactly. Like,
Like, dude.
everyone always wants you to try different. And don't get me wrong, like, of course people want to help you, and even coaches want to help you, like, try this grip, try that grip. But when you break it down, you're like, all right, I've tried about 10 different grips. I've listened to 5 different people to change all these different things. And then if you just take a step back, you're like, none of this is really the issue. You could show me any grip or any mechanical change you want. It's just a feel thing and a
Yeah.
mental thing. And it's
Yeah.
just um, like what I just started to do a lot. Um, I would do it like once a week. And this might have also been the jump to, because when I came back from TJ, I was up to like 90. I was sitting like 92 to 94 my first outing to live hitters. And then for literally 7, 8 months, it went down from like 88 to 90 out of nowhere. And it was probably here and
Mhm.
everything. Once I started to take like ground balls from shortstop, going and, throwing the ball up in the outfield and catching it and trying to throw it to a base, like doing throws that just make you athletic and not think about pitching.
Mhm.
That's when my velo went up and my accuracy started to get a little bit better because I
Mhm.
wasn't thinking about all these different things.
Yep.
Um, and that goes back to like when coaches are telling you about, or not coaches, but just anybody is telling you about different grips or different this, different that. It's like none of that stuff worked. But then when I started to do ground balls and just feeling myself, that worked. So it's like having too much data and
Yep.
different hands in the pie, it kind of messes things up, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I saw a video the other day. I think it said like sometimes the best throwing program is no throwing program at all, and it's so
Yeah,
true. It's like, when have you
yeah.
seen a position player get on the mound and suck? It
hmm
never happens.
I know.
They never can't throw strikes, and they're all like, "It's so easy, dude." And they come
hmm
back and they're like, "Bro, it's so easy."
Yeah,
Throwing
yeah,
cookies down
yeah,
the middle, and you're
yeah.
like, "Dude, fuck you. It's so hard."
I
But that's
know.
their reality because they don't care about throw. They always do throws on the run, and then it's like, that's so easy right now. But we overcomplicate it so much, and it's like, I think it was something Trevor Bauer was saying about like Canley Jansen when he turned into a pitcher after he was catching, and he was asking people like, "What should I do for a throwing program?" I was like, "Dude, you're throwing 98 and you never pitch. Like, keep doing what you're doing. Like, why would you change something? Like, what do you do now? I'm throwing down to second base and I'm catching ground balls from third base. Perfect. Do that. Like, you
Yeah.
don't need to be super specific. You don't need fucking crazy drills. You just need to move around and throw. And like, I understood something last week when I was actually playing second base, and I was like, I was wondering like, why am I struggling sometimes, and then sometimes it feels good. And I just realized the faster I move towards, like, when I catch the ball, if I use my legs to accelerate like fast, I speed up my lower half, so my upper half has to follow, and I always hit like right on the money. And then
Mhm.
I was thinking back at times that I sucked on the mound, and it's always when I slow down. And all I have to do then is just like, well, I'm going to apply that same principle on the mound. I'm just going to speed up down the mound. And I told you about that prior outing that was terrible. And like all I did was like, come on, fast. Like get up. And then as soon as we break the hands, it's fast. And then dude, I think I threw one ball in the whole outing. It was like that was a world of difference. But like it's those little realizations that it's not that easy. Like it's not that hard. I mean, my mechanics, like they're fine. Like I'm athletic enough to move my body in an efficient way, and I'm going to get to a spot where I'm all right. And then if I just
Yeah.
speed up, or if I just do this, and if I just do it like a fucking athlete, and I allow myself to use that athleticism that we work on. That's what we do in the weight room. That's why we move in certain ways. But then we go on the mountain and we're fucking robots. It's like, well, you need to give your body a chance to actually put that into fucking work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, personally for me, like everyone has, their different things when pitching that works. Like for me being slower works. But for
Yep.
you, for example, like what might have helped you when you were moving faster was
Mm-hmm.
because you weren't allowing your mind to kick in as you're going through your
Exactly.
windup and think about being an athlete. You just
That's
started to move
exactly what it
fast and
is.
your body was like, "Oh shit, here we go." And then
Yep.
you're just going.
Yep.
And that's probably what works for you.
Yep.
It's weird, man. Baseball's a weird sport. It's like it's so much more easier said than done because we're like, I'm going through it and I know these things, but I
Oh man.
can't. It's like we know these things and we know like what's wrong. It's just like everyone has their own way of figuring out
Yeah.
how to get through it, you know?
Yeah. For sure. But I feel like the best way is to just like be a kid again, like
Hmm.
start playing, actually just having fun doing it, and start just competing like you would if you were playing against your buddies in your backyard. And like you wouldn't walk the fucking stadium if you were doing that. Like you wouldn't even think about
You're not thinking
because
about all these things that don't matter.
exactly. So like it's just about being in a good space. And it takes a while, man. Like it takes so many times, and it's hard because your time comes back like it takes so much time in between outings. Like even if you're pitching every other day, it's still like you'll pitch 13 pitches every 2, 3, 4 days, dude. Like you have time to think, brother. Like you're
I
just
know.
sitting there the whole time, that's thinking about life, and like, oh, next time you go up there, and if you're not sharp that moment, then fuck it. Like you're done for another week or something.
Exactly.
So it's tough, man. It's tough to
Yeah.
overcome for sure.
It is tough, dude. It sucks because it's like the part of getting over it is to not think about it
Yeah,
or not talk about it.
yeah,
But then the other part, it's like, well, you need to accept it. So sometimes, if you want to talk about it, you need to, like you have to talk about it
yeah,
if you want to, it's weird. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, there's not, like, for example, like what we're going through, other people might not be going through.
yeah,
And what other people are going through might not be our issue. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, if plyo drills are what
Hundred
someone
percent.
needs and that's
Yeah,
going to fix someone's mechanics, sure. But what we're going through is like something totally different. We could do as many plyo drills and whatever we want. That's not
it's
the
not the
answer
problem.
to what we're going through. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah,
like, I think I spent like years, um, every single day doing I used to not really do plyos for TJ, but when I came back, I did it to start mapping my arm path and feeling good again. And I've been doing them consistently almost every single day, whether it's throwing plyos hard, whether it's just throwing them soft, whatever it is, to try and map my arm path back. And personally, I think that's where I messed up because it turned me into a robot where if like I have to, up, land, do this, make sure my arm action's here, make sure my arm slot's here. It's almost like I'm being manufactured in a factory. And
yeah.
then my first time going to take ground balls from shortstop when I tried being an athlete again, I kid you not, I didn't even make a throw to first base. I was like, oh, now I see because I never allowed my arm to be free,
Yeah.
and it's been developed to literally up, down, arm slot here, throw the ball, pin, you know what I'm saying? Like just like a robot. And it's like now I'm like, oh wow, like maybe my control issues aren't because of, or it is because of the plyos, because I was so mapped to do this exact movement every single time. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like, I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest
Well, that's a very
issue.
good point. And I'm reading some stuff by Rob Gray right now. He's like a skill acquisition, very good, very renowned psychologist, like scientific. And what he says, he kind of developed the constraint led method. So like externalizing focus and giving constraints rather than saying move like this. And that's kind of what I was explaining earlier. And he's saying like you want to create adaptability through variability. So opposing to what most people think, uh, like the being a repeatable, like always repeat. He's saying that our training should not repeat as much. We should like vary the drills that we do like a lot, like a shit ton, like do it more than anything to then create those adaptations and allow our body to adapt. Because what he said, what he learned in his studies was that he was looking at pitchers repeat their delivery and he was noticing that the results were very similar. Like pro guys throwing 10 fastballs down the middle, they were like pretty all pretty close to each other. But the thing is, there was certain relationships between certain parts of the mechanics that were always the same. But like if like one the front foot strike was like there, but then the shoulders were pulling off a little early. The relationship between the shoulder and like the external rotation of the back shoulder was like similar, but the relationship between like the acceleration of the pelvis and the like the torso was like different. But what that meant was like there was some parts in the mechanics that were not repeated at all. There was certain things that were more correlated, certain key parts. But what he learned was like these guys were extremely adaptable. They weren't repeating exactly the same thing every time, contrary to what most people think. So this is why he's saying like that's why our training should be like catching backhands and throwing like Derek Jeter, and then
Exactly.
learn how to do that so that your body can adapt and be like, so what happens if my body's like this and I still need to throw it in the square? And
Hmm.
that's what you actually need to fucking do. Because like
Exactly, dude. I
sometimes
agree.
you'll lose your balance. Sometimes it'll be windy. Sometimes there's a
Hmm.
hole. Sometimes there's no hole. Sometimes somebody yells something and you're like, oh, and then you pull off a little early. Sometimes the runner's very fast, so your slide step. Like all these things always happen. And it's like your delivery is never going to be the same twice in a row. But how are you going to be able to adapt to those differences and still get the same result? Because it doesn't matter how your mechanics is. All that matters is if you can execute the same pitch or whatever it is you're trying to do 100 times in a row, and you're going to be fucking big leaguer.
Exactly.
Dude, I agree. Like that's literally like, it's like when you, sure, plyos help for people that aren't having these issues, you know what I'm saying? But when you are going through these issues, it's probably the worst thing that I'm just starting to realize. I still do plyos every single day, but I'm being
Yeah,
an athlete and doing other things at the same time.
yeah. I
But
mean,
when
listen,
you're
keep going.
like you're saying, like when you're trying to fix your command and control and be an athlete again, but you're using only plyos to fix it, which is being repeatable. It's like when, like you were saying, when you pitch, let's say your front foot lands half a second too late than it usually does, or
Mm-hmm.
your glove side you pull yourself towards your glove a split second before your body's used to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any little thing like that will throw you off because you've been practicing plyos and throwing the exact same way every single time. But like what I'm starting to do now is like I'll go in the cage, I'll go out to the field, I'll throw some throws from straight over the top, some from 3/4, some from sidearm. So then no matter like what happens when I'm pitching, if something lands a split second too late or I do something a little bit off, like my body can still figure out a way to get the ball there because like what I've been going through is if something is off, whether you could see it or you can't,
Mm-hmm.
it's like my body doesn't know how to
Yeah,
adapt and
deal with it.
just throw the ball, and that's probably the biggest thing that I'm just now starting to realize,
Yeah,
like you were saying, no throw is ever the same.
yeah,
So when you're practicing the same throw in your drills, it's like you're working against yourself, you
yeah.
know?
You're working against what's actually happening because it's not really repeating. It's
Yeah.
adapting to however your body's going to move that time to get it done. Like it's a different, like that's a traditional philosophy of like repeating.
Hmm.
But then you look at guys and like some days your elbow is going to be lower, some days you'll be sore, some days your legs aren't going to be as strong. And it's like, how are you going to compensate that day to still get the same result? And that's why like the best guys in the world, that's what they do best. Like they don't have their best stuff every day, but somehow they get away with it. And it's like, that's where you ultimately want to be. But don't tell me these guys like did the same thing on the day they had their A stuff and the day they had their B and C stuff. Right? They approach differently. Some days they're going to be throw 70% fastballs, and some days they're going to throw 40% fastballs. And it's like, well, what happened today? Well, today my fastball wasn't good. I didn't know where it was going. I had to adapt. My elbow was a little low because my shoulder was sore from that thing last week or whatever. Like, especially if you're a reliever, like you're not going to feel great every time. And
Exactly.
It's like, how are you going to handle that? And that's why we should train that way.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you're not gonna throw the same every single time. Like your body might, let's say you're sore, you're hurting a little bit, or you feel a little too loose or a little too tight that day. Like when you're throwing, your body's going to adapt to try and change a little bit how you're throwing. But the thing is, if you're practicing throwing one way, and that's the only way you're practicing throwing every single day, what's going to happen is when your body takes a little detour, a little different route, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Like your body's not going to know how to throw because you aren't throwing the way that you've been practicing to throw every single day. You got to like add variation to what you're doing. And like we were talking about, take athletic throws and go in the outfield, take pop-ups, throw runners out, do whatever. Like practice not making the same kind of play every single day or same kind of throw, because that's how it's going to be. And that's how you get your control back. And that's what I'm starting to figure out now. And, it kind of pisses me off for the past 2 years. I haven't been doing that, and I've been turning myself into a robot. And I'm like, oh wait, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, and now it's a little bit too late because I did the wrong thing for 2 years.
Yeah. But I'm really thinking of like implementing that a lot more in my training this offseason. And obviously, like I'm not going back to college. I still got two years of eligibility, but I'm graduating in December, so I'm not going back just for fall ball. If any opportunities happen, then in fall I'll go. But I'll have a little bit more freedom in how I train. And I'm kind of excited because I might even like expand the strike zone. Like instead of a regular 9 pocket, I might get a freaking big ass thing and try to hit the corner on the big thing. Because if I can adapt to do that, then I can be efficient in every single way. And that's like contrary to what most people would believe. They'd be like, dude, why would you throw there? Because you're never going to throw there in a game. Well, exactly. If I can do more, it's like practicing a pitch that's outside the strike zone. It's like, why would you practice that? Well, ideally, you don't ever want to have to hit a pitch there, but it's going to happen that you take a swing on a ball that's not a strike. And like, what are you going to turn that into? Like, if you never practice a ball below the strike zone, how can you expect to be good with it? But then if you've practiced it like a million times, you're like, that also increases your confidence. It's like, bro, if I know that I can get fooled by a slider and still stay back and like drive it in the middle and like lunge forward with however it is you're accomplishing that. I'm not a very good hitter, but it's like, however it is you can accomplish that. If you know that, like, I know I can react to it and be good and still get a good contact on a fastball or whatever pitch that's below the zone or outside or whatever, then it makes your brain like, okay, then I'm not worried about taking that swing. I'm not worried about that situation. I'm confident about how I'm approaching this situation, as opposed to like, I need to have my middle fastball that I practice every single day on the tee. Otherwise, nothing happens. Like I cannot adapt to anything else. And it's the same thing for pitching. And I'm having ideas right now of having like, when you're pitching a bullpen and there's three lanes, thinking of putting a 9 pocket on every single lane and throwing a pen like across, just to get my brain to like step outside the constraints that I've put to myself since I was 5 years old. It's like, of course I'm never going to do that, but if I'm able to do that, that might help me to like, it might just free me up even more. Cause sometimes we're stuck. Like you always step in the same spot. And then if you'd step half an inch more to the left, you'd paint that fastball in the outside corner. But instead you pull it or whatever, you leave it up an arm side. Like what if you teach yourself to step fucking 2 feet next to that? Then your brain's like, whoa, where am I going? Well, maybe that helps. I'll do it. I'll definitely do stuff like that. That seems crazy. I mean, there's nothing, I feel like I'm at this point in my career where I don't give a shit anymore. Like I don't have anything to lose.
It sounds weird, but I agree. Like you need to get you need to get your body, like right now you're in this small like box right now and
Mhm.
that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
Once you start opening it up and like I'm just starting to realize this now too. It's crazy because we're talking about this and like we're
Yeah.
just now
Yeah.
doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's like once you give your body different feels, like even if let's say I want to throw like that way, right? And there's a target over there, like even just stepping like straight that way and just trying to hit a target over there, like just giving your body different feels to be
Yeah.
totally free. And no
Yeah.
matter what your mechanics or body does, you can still try and throw the ball to a target. Like even if the target's behind you and you want to try and take a step that way and then throw it that way, like just doing different types of movements with your arms and your body to get it where it doesn't matter what way my body takes me or what happens. Like I'm just gonna free up all this space that I could throw the ball wherever I want at any time. That's what we need to do because right now we're trained to we can only throw the ball there if everything is perfect and lands on time. But the reality of baseball is like it's never going to be perfect and it's never going to be on time as the last one. Every time it's going to change.
Yeah.
And that's the issue with what we're going through. Like, am I saying plyos are bad? Absolutely not. Like,
Yeah.
but it
Exactly.
doesn't help. Like, if you don't have the foundation of what we're going through right now, then there's no point of doing these robotic things.
Yeah.
But if you have this foundation where your control is not really an issue, like you feel like an athlete, like all the, everything we're talking about, then sure, throwing programs might be good. Plyos might be good. Like before I had TJ, I did a throwing program. I was on throwing programs for my college coach. Like they worked for me.
Yeah.
But the thing is I never had this underlying issue. Like I already had the foundation for my body built because when I was playing travel ball when I was a kid and I came through high school, like I was playing every single position. I was turning double plays, throwing runners out from the outfield, hitting cutoffs. Like our bodies were trained for years to no matter where the ball is, just pick it up and throw it, and it's not repeatable. But when you come back from TJ, you're training, not everybody, but people that have these issues like me and you are training to be a robot and not be an athlete to where plyo drills aren't going to help you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you need to figure out how to free up your body to get the ball where you want it, no matter what goes wrong in your mechanics, and
Yeah.
that's the biggest issue. And I think it's not talked about a lot because the things that we're talking about now is from what I realize and put myself through, and things that I figured out myself, or maybe had a phone call with somebody who went through this, and like you're gonna go online and see all these people that are trying to make money off of kids playing. They're gonna give you, not to bash anybody's program, but you go on Instagram and you scroll, it's always like, oh, I'm going to train you how to throw harder. Well, okay, but you're just going to give them a plyo, whatever, weightlifting program, maybe tell them what foods to eat, and then a throwing program. And you know what I'm saying? But if
Yeah.
if the kid's having issues like we are,
Yeah.
that's not the answer because there's no foundation. And it makes it even worse when you try doing those things without the foundation because it keeps putting you more and more and more in a fucking hole.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not talked about. Like, you're not going to go on Instagram right now. I'd say the only guy, and I told you about this guy
Yeah.
that I've seen talk about this, his name's Brooks Hall. And
Hmm.
I had an hour phone call with him.
Shout out to
And
Brooks.
shout
He's
out
the
to
man.
Brooks. And some of the stuff that, I was already thinking to myself and didn't talk to anyone about, he told me that exact thing. And I was like, oh, so maybe what I was thinking was right. And then he told me like 10 more things. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
And like I'm saying, he's like the 1% of guys on Instagram that you're going to see like talk literally just about being an athlete and
Yeah.
just freeing up your body. It's like,
That's what it's all about, man.
yeah,
Especially with this over obsession of always improving velo. I get fucking 13-year-olds, 14-year-old kids asking me, "How do I gain velo?"
mm-hmm.
Brother, you are a freaking terrible athlete. Like
No
I
foundation. They don't
they
have a
send me their
foundation.
videos and I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do with this? Like I don't even know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're throwing 67. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about, velo? Like, you can be an athlete. You can bring me a guy that moves like a freaking legend, and I'm gonna make him throw 80, like this. Like, that's throwing 80 shouldn't be a problem for any person that can throw that can move well and stuff. And then it's like these kids need to stop seeing it from there and take a step back and like, dude, you can't run, you can't jump, you can't move well, you can't flow, your spine is like this, it has zero mobility, like your hips are tight as hell, nothing moves well on your body. And it's like, let's
Yeah.
stop caring about how hard you throw and let's start moving a little more athletically. Go play basketball with your friends, dude. Go do this. Go run fast. Go jump high. Go try to dunk a basketball. Go do all those things. Go play dodgeball. And then it's like they come back. Like that's what I do with my kids. Like we're talking about throwing programs. I don't give the craziest throwing programs. I'm like, I program athletic throws almost every day. And it's like, I don't want you throwing a ball like this because you don't need that. You need
Yeah,
some fucking variation to that same themes. And then
Yeah.
these kids come back and they're like, dude, I'm so good. Like, I got a kid that gained 9 miles per hour like last week in 1 week from his pull down velo. And I did not talk to him about anything mechanic. Like I literally told him one thing, like, yeah, you can use your glove side a little bit more, but I was like, don't worry about that. We'll take care of this. Like, just keep working hard in the weight room. Just keep doing the focusing on transferring energy up the spine and up the chain. And like everything's gonna be fine. And then boom, 75 to 84. And I was like, he's like, bro, this is crazy. I'm like, yeah. Because you didn't think about it. Like you're just being an athlete right now. You're a better athlete than you were last week. This is all that happened.
exactly.
And now that you have the foundation and you're an athlete and you could free up your body, if you get a ground ball hits you at shortstop, you could throw the runner out at first base. Like if you could hit the cutoff from the outfield, like if you could dunk a basket, if you could just be an athlete and you have that foundation, then it's like, okay, how can we incorporate some plyo drills to maybe help strengthen the arm? How can we
Yeah.
do these drills to help do that? But if you don't have a foundation, drills are just going to make you worse because you're just already a robot and you don't know how to make a throw without everything being perfect. And now
Yeah.
you're doing drills that are
Well,
repeating.
I would put a little I don't know how you call it, but I would contest that in a little like I would not disagree with you, but I do feel like if you're going to do drills, as much if you the more you can have an external focus, like I mentioned before. I had my last post, I think it was yesterday, about me doing a lasso drill last week, an abbreviated lasso drill, and I was internalizing my focus so much, and I was trying to fire the hips first and shit, and I was like, it didn't feel really good, and then I was just like, let me throw this hard. Like I'm going to throw it hard at a spot there. I picked a spot on the wall and I threw it hard, and it was my best throw today. And I was like, that was very easy. And that was just externalizing focus. So if you're going to do drills, it's fine. But what I do love is put a radar and be like, we're going to throw it 72. Okay, throw it 72. Throw it 72, 72. Like, this is what you're trying to do. This is the focus. Because it doesn't matter what you do to get there. If you're trying to throw hard, just throw hard. Like, I don't understand why we're like, move this and that and that. So this is what I have been doing with my kids, that when I prescribe drills, it's often for a certain speed. And obviously, like, don't assess speed like an idiot and not knowing what speed you should hit on everything. And like, you shouldn't do like that by yourself and always try to hit as high as you can. But if you're going to get a drill, try to externalize focus as much as possible. And then it's crazy the results the guys get because they're like, bro, it's helping me so much. And then they start realizing I was doing this more. And I'm like, yeah, see, I didn't tell you anything about that. Like, yeah, I was realizing I was moving faster, or I was rocking back and forth. That was creating momentum forward. Or I was using my glove arm more when I was on one knee. And I was realizing like how much more intent I was putting into it. And I'm like, yeah, that's why we're doing those constraints. But I'm not giving you anything specific to focus on. I'm just like, throw as hard as you can. Then your body figures it out. And it's like, well, that's cool. So I do think that drills have their purpose, and I think that they can be very, very good. But I do feel like most coaches and most kids are just going to be internalizing focus all the time. Like, oh, they see all those fucking mechanical analysis online, and it's like, I got to do this and this, and I got to turn my hips first and this, and I got to keep my shoulders back, and then I got to do that, and my elbow has to be level with my shoulders. And it's like, bro, you cannot see yourself in space that well to like start throwing and thinking about that. So this is
I'd
my
say it depends. It depends on the player. Like
yeah.
before I had TJ, I wouldn't do drills.
Yeah.
I actually had a problem where my old pitching coach, Mike Posey, who's at Florida State now, um, literally I would in catch play try and throw the ball as hard as I can every single time, and it got so bad to the point where On my recovery days, I would still try and do it because my body was so used to it,
Yeah.
where he literally gave me what is it? It's like the plyo ball and the little thing you put in your hand where like, you know what I'm talking about? It's almost like a bag you put on your hand and there's a plyo ball in it and
Oh
you
yeah,
throw.
yeah,
He had me do that on my recovery days, so I'm still throwing, but I'm not throwing the baseball because every time I got it in my hand, I try and throw it as hard as I can.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Just
sometimes that's just
and
what
I
you
wouldn't
do.
do drills. I just try and throw as hard as I can, and I threw hard. You know,
Yeah,
I threw hard from it.
exactly. And we
But then
get
it's
domed
like,
up about it so much, and I'm like, it's not that hard when you just think about that. Just throw it fucking
mm,
hard, dude. If you throw
yeah,
it
no,
hard, as hard as you can every single day, good things are gonna like chances that your velo is trending up is pretty high. Now, obviously,
cool.
there's some mechanical inefficiencies that can happen here and there, and that's why you need to be an athlete because you need to get away from those injuries by being able to adapt in a way that's not gonna freaking hurt yourself. And that's
Yeah,
why we want to be good athletes. That's why we want to lift weights. That's why we want to protect the structures, and that's why we want to prepare for
mm,
the stress you're going to put on your body by throwing hard every fucking day. But like,
yeah,
it's ultimately what it comes down to. Is like, I had an interview with Austin Yoakum this summer, and that's what I was talking about. I was like, the purpose of the drill is not to internalize focus and just do the drill to do the drill at a very light intent. It's like if you're going to set up in a certain stance or whatever position and you never actually apply intent, how the fuck do you expect to have a result out of that? Like if I'm on my
mm,
knees but I'm throwing like this, what change am I creating? Nothing.
mm,
But if I'm on my knees and I'm like, okay, throw as hard as possible, then it's, oh, now I'm realizing stuff. But you
mm,
see all those coaches, okay, we're going to start play catch, start on one knee, then move back, start feet pointing to target and do this and that. But there's no purpose to that. It's just what the fuck they've been doing for the last 10 years. Every kid throws 45% intent on their drills and they don't get anything from them.
mm.
They're just more robotic.
Yeah, yeah. I will say, like, obviously, number one, drills aren't for everybody, and if they are for somebody, not all drills. Like, one drill might be for somebody, one drill might be for someone else. Maybe
Yeah,
someone doesn't need drills, whatever the case is.
yeah,
But my what I stand by is what you're saying is when you're doing a drill to do it as if you were to pitch in a game. Like
yeah,
when you're pitching in the game, you're not going to go up there and let's say you're doing the drill at 50% intent.
yeah,
The point of the drill is to over exaggerate it. So when you go on the mound, you're not thinking about it. Your body just starts to do it if you have an issue.
yeah,
But if you're doing it half-assed or at 40%, you're not going to go in the game and are you going to throw 40% intent? No, you're going to let your body just ride the roller coaster and throw the ball as hard as you can. So when you're doing anything, training for baseball, it's like everything needs to be 100% and as hard as you can. Of course, if your arm's not feeling good and you have recovery days or days after you pitch, like sure, but the days where your arm is great and you feel great, you need to take advantage of that and throw the ball as hard as you can because your body's going to adapt to
yeah.
try. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah, it's
you're,
the only
you're
way you can actually get better, and that's the only way you can actually start throwing harder. Like all these people think that if they fix their mechanics, they're going to throw harder. It's like no, if you try to fucking throw harder, you're going to throw harder,
mm,
and sometimes it's that simple. Like, and that's why I love the kneeling throw so much because it makes you realize it's a little less stress on the elbow and shoulder because it's you don't throw as hard, and you just start applying so much intent. Like it's so like, wow, I can rotate my shoulders that fast. Like, that's crazy. And then
mm,
you start thinking like, well, maybe if I just do that on the mount, and then like it's insane how it opens up you're like, oh, well, that's all I need to be doing. It's just trying as hard as I can. I don't have
yeah,
to be perfect. I don't
mm,
have to have crazy hip to shoulder separation and just be like perfectly on time and have freaking crazy layback and just like, dude, just throw it harder than what you do now. I promise you.
mm,
And that's the biggest benefit of like trying to throw hard and having, velo like pull down phases and stuff because that's what you actually come down to every time. And I hate myself when I stop doing it in season because then I come back to it and I'm like, oh, that's all I had to do. Like, is just trying to freaking throw harder.
yeah. Literally, it's just the intent. Like if
Yeah.
just giving it the intent on the days where your body can handle it and like if you're not taking advantage of the days where your body feels good and your arm feels good and you're not putting in as much intent as you can, like you're just wasting your time because those are the days when you take advantage of it and just throw the ball as hard as you frickin' can.
Yep.
It's like you're not going to throw, it's common sense. You're not going to throw harder if you're not throwing hard. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
it.
It's like,
That's it.
you know, like before I had Tommy John, I would barely do plyos. If I did, I would grab like the red or the yellow one, which is really not that heavy, and throw it like 50% just to get my arm warmed up. I would barely do plyos. And I was throwing slightly harder then than I am now. I think I was like 2 to 5, maybe hit like I think I hit 97 once, just one time. And now it's like, I think I've only hit like a 95 one time, and I'm like anywhere from like 90 to 94. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not, and I do plyos every single day.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, maybe should I not do plyos? Should I just
Yeah.
not do any of that and I'll throw harder? You know, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
like,
there's definitely many ways to get there,
yeah,
but it's all about. Yeah. Go ahead.
which before, like I said, I would throw the ball as hard as I can and catch play every day. But now I don't throw the ball as hard as I can and catch play every day.
Yeah.
So it's
Maybe
like,
maybe that's just the secret sauce. It's
I know.
like it's really not as complicated as we think, and I feel like science is great and like we need to use it to our advantage, but we can't hack the system. Like you still
No.
need to try and throw hard. And it's like
Yeah.
even if you have the perfect mechanics, if you're weak as fuck and you're slow, it can look perfect on like the
Hmm.
angles that you're getting to and all that. But if it's just slow and weak, it's not going to be good. Plus, if it's not fast enough and you're not strong enough to get into certain positions and create the separation that you need into certain things, it's like your mechanics can't. I don't think your mechanics can be perfect throwing 70 just because you're not, unless you're like 7. But like if you're a strong regular person, like your body's probably able to throw harder. So I don't think having perfect mechanics would equal to lower velos, because in order to have perfect mechanics, you have to have certain degrees. And I don't know what perfect mechanics are considered to be, but all the positions that you need to hit probably cannot be hit at lower intensity.
Yeah, there is no perfect mechanics. That's a
Yeah, well,
literally
that's
every
the thing.
single pitcher in the world.
Yeah, different.
If even if it, I'm not trying to call out any people that do what I'm about to say, but you'll understand what I'm saying. But I hope I don't lose friends over this. You have people that would post stuff on Instagram of breaking down a pitcher throwing in the big leagues, right? And they'll be
Yeah,
like, this guy does this, whether it's, oh, his heel drive or this. And it's like, I guarantee you that guy doesn't even realize what you're saying. And it's easier to just look at someone throw and say, this is what they do well, this is why they throw. But there is not one single person, even if it looks like they're throwing the same and their mechanics look similar, I guarantee you, whether it's physically or mentally, they are not throwing the same in their
yeah,
body. They might
yeah,
look the same, but they're not. And it's like you
yeah,
can't, everyone has their own way to throw hard and connect their arm with their legs, like just flowing down the mound.
hmm,
And it's like you can't just like make a video and say, oh, this guy throws this hard because he's doing this, so everybody should do this. Like it's like no, like this guy is different, just like every single person. It's
yeah,
like, of course, there's bad habits when you pitch, and to sharpen those up, but there will never be a person that throws the exact same way or feels the exact same sequence of throwing down the mound, feel mentally, physically. Like it's just not a thing.
yeah,
Um, so it's like, it's hard to, tell people, or it's easy to break down videos and say, do this, but it's like, this kid doesn't feel that and he never
yeah,
will feel that.
yeah,
It's like, just be an athlete, because
yeah,
then if you're an athlete, let's say you make it to the big leagues and I want to break down your video now, your mechanical breakdown is going to be different from every single pitcher in the big leagues. Like
yeah,
here's every year you get new people drafted and you get new people make it to the big leagues. Like, oh, this guy who throws 100 and throws hella strikes actually throws very different from this other guy who throws 100.
yeah,
And then another guy comes in the big league and it's like, oh, this guy throws different from all these other guys. It's like, it's not, it's just a feel thing and it's just a mental, physical, body connection thing. And
combination
just,
of both. Yeah,
yeah, it's like, you can't, that's why I think if you don't have the foundation, like we're talking about this whole podcast, it's like,
yeah,
drills aren't going to help you. It's not,
You got to
it's
be an
not.
athlete first, and that's what you need to remember, kids. And there's no shortcuts. I want to turn. I want to something else I want to talk about after this, but there's no shortcuts. Like stop asking, stop looking for secret recipes, stop looking to gain 9 miles per hour in 1 week. Like this shit
Mm,
just does not happen. It happened for one of my kids last week, but it's the first time I've ever seen anything like this. And it's like that just doesn't happen. And if you try to make it happen too, it probably won't happen.
yeah,
It's
there's,
like
yeah.
just lose the idea that you can get better like that quick and just start throwing harder, working harder, just training better and becoming a freaking better mover and athlete. And then all of a sudden, boom, your results are probably going to get better. But it takes time, and it takes so much time. And we live such an era of instant gratification. Everybody wants to get everything right now. And it's just not the reality. Like it's just not going to
Hmm.
fucking happen. So keep working hard, kids. But all this to lead us to that other point you kind of mentioned about earlier, and you said we shouldn't probably talk about it. Like you were saying about having command issues, and you were like, I don't like to talk about it, but some of it, like it's about admitting it sometimes. And I was like, that made me think of something because last month maybe we were playing, and we have a good situation in the game. I think we've bases loaded. I think it's like a tie game, or we're up one, or we're down one. Something like it's a very good game, very close game. It's getting late in the game. Bases loaded. Our guy comes up to bat, and then there's one of our hitters. He wasn't hitting, but he's right next to me on the bench, and he says, "It's kind of stressful, isn't it?" And I looked at him like nobody ever mentioned this to me, and I started laughing. I was like, yeah, dude, you're right. Probably shouldn't be saying it, but you're right. And he's like, no, but seriously, like I like this guy right now. It's pretty stressful to be. It would be pretty stressful if I was him. Like I'd be pretty fucking nervous. And I was like, yeah, but like, aren't you not supposed to say anything about it? And then I was kind of thinking, I was laughing, and I was like, boys, like, can you believe he just said that? And then they were like, everybody was like, what the fuck? And the next day, that guy hit a home run, like an absolute tank. That
Yeah.
guy that talked to me. And then it made me think. I was thinking about it on the way back, and I was like, dude, maybe he's the only one that got it. Like, why do we all like? Are we all scared to talk about how we're feeling during? Like, it's pretty normal. Like, he wasn't saying anything wrong. He was right. Everybody knows that it's a fucking stressful moment, but we're all egotistical little fuckers. Like, I don't want to admit it. Like, of course I'm not stressed. Of course I don't care. Bases loaded. We're down one with 2 outs. I'm not stressed. Like, of course you are. But
Mm,
he was the only one, like, maybe because he doesn't care or whatever, he was the only one that just was willing to admit it. And then maybe it had nothing to do with his AB afterwards, but I just feel like it kind of freed up his mind. Like, yeah, it's stressful. So what? I'm going to try and do my best. And then he hit a home run. And then I was like, damn, if we just talk about it and admit that we, like, I think that's a psychological thing to just admit it, admit that you have a problem, admit that things went wrong. That's the first step into recovery. I think that's a psychological, people that go to rehab, it's the first step is admitting that they had a problem.
yeah.
And I feel like this is kind of the same principle there. I'm not a psychologist by any means, but I just feel like it makes sense, and it's pretty much the same thing. And it's like, well, yeah, if you just say, you know what, I have not been able to throw strikes, and I have been underperforming, and I have not been able to, get back to where I want to be, and I don't like that. And then I
Hmm.
just feel like I just said that, and I just feel better now. I'm just like, damn,
Uh,
that's kind of a weight that comes off my shoulders, and now I can just go out there and be like, you know what? It's fucking nervous when you go out there, bases loaded, you're up one, and there's 2 outs, and it's like if you walk the guy, the tying run comes in, and it's like, but that's life. Like it's stressful, but
yeah.
there's nothing
No,
wrong
no,
with saying it.
you're right. It's like, and it sucks because what I'm about to say, I just started to realize, like, literally, like, kid you not, a couple weeks ago, and I'm
Yeah,
pissed off I didn't realize this before, but it's like your mind is not your friend most of the time.
yeah.
Your mind likes to take thoughts from this little box that you keep within yourself that you try to hide, or you try not to talk about it, or you let it take over. You just let it take over your body. So once you just talk about these things, or I talked to a sports psychologist before about this, once
Mhm.
you just like write it down you talk about it. That's you getting it out of your body, right?
Yep.
Now your mind doesn't have that little box of stuff and ideas to be like, oh, by the way, like, I know that you've been thinking about sucking lately. Like, you've already talked about it. So your mind's like, once you get everything out and you
Yep.
talk about it, you write it down, you just get it all out of your body, your mind's going to open up the little box and it's going to be like, oh shit, it's empty. I have nothing to tell him today. Like,
Yep.
he got rid of everything. And I don't know who I heard this from, but I started doing it, and it sucks because I used to do what I'm about to say all the time before I had TJ when I was doing really good. When I'm on the mound, I will literally speak, not at the hitter, but to myself and be like, excuse my language, but I'll be like, all right, motherfucker, like, you want to fucking hit it? Like, here you go. Like, shit like that. Like, and people could see me talking, but I'd
Yeah.
do it because it would shut my mind off. Like,
Yeah.
and I never had issues with thinking. I just go up there and be like, you want a fucking slider here? I'm gonna throw it right down the fucking middle. Like, let's see if you can fucking hit it. Like, here you fucking go. Like, stuff like that. So speaking and everything that comes out of your mouth
Yeah.
takes over your mind and pushes it to the side. It's
Yeah. We
like
were talking about that.
we were talking about that,
Yeah.
but it's like if you just get everything, even if you wake up in the morning, journal stuff, talk about it to somebody. Like, yeah, man, like I fucking sucked yesterday. Like I did terrible. Like I really do suck. Like just doing things like that, your mind no longer has things to pull out of this box
Yeah.
to to bring up when you're in the moment of doing it.
Yep.
Like there was um what was it? I uh I remember I threw a bullpen in college and I did absolutely terrible. Like probably didn't even throw a strike in a bullpen, like any of my pitches. And I came home and I was like, it's like, dude, holy shit. Like I spent the rest of the 8 hours in my day like dreading it. Like, what am I doing? I'm wasting my time. Like, why did I come back for 6 year? Why did I just quit? Like, why did I waste my time for 2 years? Everything you could think of, right? And then I woke up and I was like, dude, I don't give a fuck anymore. So then the next 2 days, like even at practice, I was like, yeah, dude, I fucking suck. Like I don't even know how I'm on the team. Like just like joking about things.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, when I had an inner squad, we were doing like live ABs. Each person got 8 hitters. I retired all 8 hitters, didn't let up a hit, and struck out like half of the guys and didn't walk anybody. And I was like, wow, I literally just freed up my body of all these
Yeah.
negative thoughts and everything,
Yeah.
and I didn't give a fuck, and I even laughed about me sucking,
Yeah.
and now I'm doing good. Yeah, but it's like you got to get everything out of your body, whether it's talking about it or writing it down, and not take it seriously. So your mind no longer has things to pull
Yeah.
from your box and ruin your day and make the things happen that you're thinking about.
Yeah. I just feel like it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to be like, how'd you feel up there? I was really nervous. I think it'd be lying to yourself, and sometimes lying to yourself works. But when things are going well, you can lie to yourself all you want and be like, yeah, I was doing this and really wasn't feeling the pressure and I was doing that and I wasn't nervous at all. It doesn't matter because if it's going well. But when things go wrong, we keep those same things like, oh yeah, I was feeling really good. No, you weren't. Like I was feeling terrible. I didn't know where it was going. Now I don't like that. Like if you're saying that you suck, I think saying that you sucked in the past, leaving that behind you, I think that's fine. I'm not a fan of like saying I'm ass because I feel like right now you can do something about that. But
Yeah.
I do believe that talking about it and being like, yeah, I had a terrible AB, but that's fine. Like let's just
Mhm.
talk about it. Let's just be real. Let's stop lying to ourselves here and try and bullshit everybody that I was
Yeah,
good
yeah,
last game. Like I wasn't. there's
yeah.
nothing to there's nothing to talk about anymore. It's just like now that's gone. Now we
Mm.
can move forward. But like if you never have that, and you're right, like one of the reason I think I'm doing well now as opposed to last season is because I'm being myself on the mound too, and I'm doing the same thing, talking to hitters all the time, and I'm literally talking to myself more than like some guys the other day said I tipped one of my pitches because I said fastball, and they were like, "Dude, you said it! Like everybody saw you said fastball," and I still blew the guy's doors off for a K, and I was like, "Well, I
And
don't care." Like,
I'm gonna hold you to that because that's exactly what I'm talking about. Your mind doesn't remember you saying that,
no,
but you speaking took over your body. So
yeah,
whatever you say to yourself automatically takes over what you're thinking
yeah,
because and what you do because you don't even remember you saying fastball
nope,
and
I
you
didn't know.
threw good and your mind you don't even remember it.
No, I don't. I don't. After the game, they were like, dude, you tipped your pitch. And I was like, how? They're like, because I was thinking like the way I placed my glove or I preset the grip or whatever. They're like, no, you said it. I was like, oh, that's funny. I was
Yeah.
like, here, we're going with another fastball. I literally probably said that just like this. And then I threw it and it was by him. And I was like, well, that's whatever. Like, but obviously you don't want to do that all the time. But it just came down to I was so confident and I was just talking to myself and I was just like the fact that I was letting my emotions out. Like I was nervous. It was the last game of the year. We were playing for first place. If we were winning that game, we were finishing first. If we were losing, we had to play another game to determine who was the winner between us and the other team in our division. And like we started the inning with two guys on because it was in extras. And then there was first and second, no out. Then first guy bunts, bases loaded, no outs. And I was like, obviously I'm nervous. We're up 1 or 2. I think it's 4-2. Bases loaded, no outs. And I'm here. I got to close. And I'm like, I guess I'm going to have to strike everybody out now. And I literally said that. And I was talking to myself like, because if I keep that in, it consumes you. Like if you don't speak, it literally like eats you from inside. You lose, it drains all your energy. You start spiraling down your thoughts like, oh, what if I walk this guy? But you're not going to say that out loud. That's why I love that you mentioned that, speaking to yourself. And I think I told you that, but my friend Felix told me that quote from his pitching coach, I think, when I had him on the podcast, don't listen to yourself think, listen to yourself talk. And it's exactly what it is. It's like, I'm not going to tell myself out loud, what if I walk this guy? I'm not going to say that. My brain's going to say that though. But I'm going to be like, all right, I'm going to have to strike everybody out. But because I said that, now my thoughts are positive. I mean, I'm not spiraling down my thoughts. I'm just, everything that comes up to my mind, I'm letting it out, which keeps me in the present. And then that just allowed me to perform well. And then like, that's what I'm aiming for every single time now. It's just like, okay, I'm going to be speaking to myself and look like a weirdo. I don't care. I'm
Yeah.
putting up zeros on the board and everybody loves me. Like, that's all that matters.
Weird analogy, but it's almost like your mind are all the bugs that are biting you, and then you speak with like putting bug spray on.
Yeah,
It,
exactly. It's just like keeping them off. It's literally for that because it's not like it's literally just allowing you to be in the present rather than being anxious about the past or the future, right? It's because when you're sucking on the mound, you're anxious about what might happen.
which probably won't even happen, but since you're thinking about it now, it's gonna.
Yeah, since you're thinking about it, what if I walk the next 5 guys? Oh, well, this never happened before, but somehow you made it happen because now you thought about it and then you stayed in your head.
Yeah, because whether it's positive or negative, as long as you're thinking about it, it's
Yeah.
probably happen.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's been a little while, man. Usually keeping it under an hour, but we always have a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah, dude, we could talk and talk.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to do that again sometime soon, and we'll have to see each other. Maybe do it in person or a little video next time. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, we will.
So we're gonna wrap this up now, and I appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here today. It was really, really cool, and I'm looking forward for the next episode already. And I'm wishing you the best of luck in your training, and hope that you can get back to feeling like yourself again.
Yeah, man, it was awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yes,
It's good to
sir.
always have someone to relate to, you know?
Yeah, for sure. All right, brother. Well, take care, man.
All right, brother.
See you.